How do I find a new job? How can I make a career change? And the biggest question of all, can I really find a career that I love? Hey, my name is Jen Smith, and I believe career success doesn't have to be at the expense of living a radiantly happy and healthy lifestyle. As a former HR leader and recruiter turned career coach, I get what companies are looking for when hiring top talent. What that means for you is an unmatched combination of insider knowledge and the best kept secrets about making heart-based career changes and navigating the ups and downs of job searching in today's world of work. Whether you're a recent graduate navigating the job market for the first time or a seasoned professional ready for a career change, this show is for you. So grab your coffee or your kombucha, pull up a seat, and get ready to be challenged and inspired to move beyond your self-doubt and take the right next steps towards landing a career you love. Because you deserve a long, radiantly happy and healthy career. This is the Flourish Careers Podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Flourish Careers Podcast. I'm Jen Smith, your host, and I'm so delighted to be back here with you to kick off a brand new season. This season is extra special. It's dedicated entirely to interviews celebrating the remarkable stories from the book, Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Letting Go. Over the next few weeks, I'll spotlight inspiring women who have shared personal experiences of courage, resilience, and growth. I'm beyond honored to be a contributing author in this special project. Together with 8 other women, we have crafted a compelling anthology that gets into the transformative power of letting go in personal and professional growth. Each of us contributed a chapter, and we weaved our own unique experiences into this collection of stories. So to launch this special series, I am joined by the dynamic duo behind it all, Pestikas and Hope Mueller. Jen is a financial services executive, leadership coach, and founder of the Brave Women at Work community, podcast, and book series, where she helps women take bold steps in their careers. Hope is a pharmaceutical executive, author, and founder of Hunter Street Press and Climb conferences, creating spaces that inspire and uplift. Together, they've built a platform empowering women to rise, lead, and let go. Today, we're going to dive into the magic behind their collaboration, the origins of this incredible series, and give you a sneak peek into the inspiring stories waiting for you in Lessons in Letting Go. Let's get started. So Jen, let's start with you. Take us to the moment that you were inspired to create Brave Women at Work, and especially the book series. I know you have a whole community and a podcast, but tell us how the book series came about and then your role in the collaboration process.
So interestingly enough, I was on a podcast with Hope, like we are today. And one of our friends and colleagues, Natalie Benamou of her C-suite, introduced us and told me Hope Mueller needs to be part of your podcast. And so I reached out to Hope and she was gracious and accepted. And then I have her on the show and just my intuition started screaming at me, Jen, and was just like, ask her to write a book with you. Ask her to write a book with you. Mind you, I didn't know her really well. And so at the end of the show, like we're done with the recording. And then I'm like, hey, I just want to ask you like some random question. Do you want to write a book together? And, I explained, what I was thinking, like a women's anthology series. And I thought, and I was like starting to feel kind of like sweating. And I was like, oh my God, I have so much like oversharing vulnerability, that vulnerability hangover. And she was like, yeah, I think I actually do want to do that. And so the rest is history.
Oh my goodness. I love how you listened to your intuition in that moment. You didn't even think about it. You just, in that moment during the show, you were feeling it. And then after just went right in with the question. I think that's beautiful. Why not act on it when you, especially if you have that physical reaction where you're sweating like that too. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And then what's your role in the collaboration process? So this is a very unique process from my perspective. So I'd love for you to share with listeners your role in this process.
So Hope and I knew pretty early on that we were going to be a good match because when we started talking, I kind of understood her background and then she understood my background. And she just was like really open, like right up front, which I love about her. And she's like, I love operations. I love editing. I love all of like the publication process. But she said right up front, she's like, I hate marketing. I hate book marketing. And I'm like, Okay, cool. Because I do marketing in my day job. So like it's been kind of a beautiful marriage because I don't have to worry at the front end of the process through the whole editing. And now that you're an author, in our book, you understand how Hope kind of really shepherds the authors through the writing and the publication process. And then it's been really nice for us because we both have corporate work that we can kind of like have our foot on the pedal and, on the gas, like where it's like, oh, this isn't my part. So then I take the authors through the book marketing journey to get us to Amazon bestseller. So that's my role in the collaboration.
Amazing. And I love the MFEO, made for each other partnership. So right from the beginning, the operations and the marketing, the sales and the operations, like that's what makes business work. So Hope, let's hear from your side of it now. So tell us about that moment when Jen reached out after the podcast to talk about it.
Well, she's downplaying it a little bit because she said, "Do you want to? I have this idea for a book. Do you want?" And I was like, "Yes, let's do it. We are doing it." And I love Jen came up with this great phrase that we used a lot during that first work was naive joy.
Ooh.
Because I had written books and published books, but I had never put an anthology together. And so we found a series of authors and we told them, hey, we've never done this before. Do you want to go on this journey with us in this naive joy approach? And that's how it started. And I'll tell you, one of the other things that happens with Jen and I is you have to be careful, like what ideas you throw out there, because once you throw an idea, you're like, yes, let's make that happen. and that's how we are. In our fourth book, we're signing authors for the fifth book right now. We've held retreats together. We're holding conferences together. And because somebody will come up with an idea and, 2 weeks later, I think that's actually what happened with that first book. She came up with the idea. I'm like, yes, let's do it. And 2 weeks later, like I had the whole thing mapped and we got to it. It's been really, really fun.
I find it fascinating to learn how collaborations like this begin. And just one simple question and everything just exploded into this beautiful partnership. Fourth book, working on fifth book at this point, and all starting. I love the phrase naive joy. What a beautiful way to talk about this and invite others in, because then it makes it not so stiff or scary for someone like me who's never done this before. I'll never forget when Jen reached out to me. It was like this email like, hey, our next book is Lessons in Letting Go. Do you know anybody? And I was like, would you guys allow me to join you? So like, it was like a hell yes for me too. So I think like that energy attracts the right people to you guys, and then it probably makes the collaborations that much more fun. So, So thank you for sharing that. And I love the energy with both of your stories there. So now I have a joint question for you. So Jen, let's start with you. In my opinion, this is a really unique process. So I'd love to hear from you what you love most about the collaboration.
Well, I know that, and this is going to be a love fest for Hope. Like, I know that she has my back, right? So I have had points in my career, and I think likewise for her, where it's like, it's getting intense over in the corporate world. And we aren't in the same industry, but we understand very clearly how you operate as a female in like C-suite territories and like leadership territory. And so I'll be like, okay, like I need help right now. And she comes, she's like, got it. Or, if she needs to take a break, I'm like, okay, got it. Right. So we really have one another's back is probably what I enjoy the most. And I think we're starting to get to a point where, funny enough, it almost feels like we have our own language, like where we can be texting back and forth. I'm like, got it. Like we're just like, and we can do like whole meetings, like probably not the most efficient, but like for us, it works. Like we're like the text chains or the email, I'm like, got it. And like, I don't know. It works for us and no ball is typically dropped and we have each other's back. So that's my favorite part.
So powerful. I'll never forget the first time a manager said that to me, like, hey, I've got your back. We're going through this crazy project. And he said to me, hey, I've got your back. And I just felt like Wow, like that is a powerful feeling to have that in a collaboration. And so I think that that's something for all of us to kind of take with us as we're thinking about work and career and understanding those people that have our back. So, so Hope, what about you? What do you love most about this?
I mean, it has to be very similar, but if I were to distill it down, it's trust. It is undeniable trust. And I know if I can't get to it or if she, like she will pick it up for me, even the marketing parts that I don't want to do. But if she's out of the country and something's happening, like I'm doing it right for those 3 days. And if I'm out or I fall off the cliff for a while, like she steps in and just completely it is in many ways. I know Jen described it. It's just seamless, like that partnership at this point, because what is it? 3 years now, 4 years now? It's just seamless. Like we know each other's style. And the other bit is, what real trust is when if something's upsetting or we need to pivot or we just have the conversation and there's literally no friction at all, right? You just, hey, let's get this together and we make big decisions together. We head in the same direction. And so I would say, that ability to just 100% trust each other and to be able to work with somebody in such a seamless fashion. I just feel really lucky. I feel so lucky. I feel so lucky that she asked, she had me on the podcast and that she asked to work on the book because, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And there's a lot of moving parts. And so the idea of having, 6, 7, 8, 9 authors coming together and sharing their stories and then writing and the editing and the marketing and the selling. And I feel like the timeline is tight. Like, what is the timeline? I don't even know. I feel like we started in the fall and we're going to end in the spring. Is that right?
It's 9 months, right? It's about 9 months.
Yeah, it's about 9 months.
That's wild to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
a lot.
You can shorten or lengthen that too, depending on what the authors want to do. We try and stick to this timeline, and it's worked pretty well so far.
I was just thinking, I guess from an operational standpoint, the amount that goes into this collaboration. And then if you guys didn't have that trust and have each other's back at that leadership level to get something like this done, it would never happen in 9 months. I mean, to me, that's just a very condensed timeline for so much work to get done. So kudos to both of you for building that relationship so quickly and making this happen. And I guess from my perspective, I think it's so beautiful how you guys create this safe space for women to share these stories that are vulnerable. And there's a ton of courage that comes from sharing a story that are in these books. And so I just really appreciate you guys, bringing the space to tell powerful stories. And I guess that also makes me think that it's a reminder of how powerful storytelling can be in building resilience and sparking inspiration and fostering that meaningful connection. Like there's so much to that. So thank you guys for bringing it to light.
Jen, I want to share with something really quick. So one of your fellow authors, Dominique Luster, she shares this concept, and it's so powerful when she says, history belongs to the people who write it down. And so creating this space immediately starts to create the community, but all of the authors are brave because they're sharing their stories, and that becomes, an element that other people can learn from and becomes the history. And there's a lot of power in that.
There is. I remember from our kickoff call when she shared that, and I don't remember quite if it was a poem or a piece of her story. It was super powerful, and you guys ended with that, and it left me with all the chills and all the excitement for this lovely project. And we are going to have Dominique on, and I cannot wait for listeners to hear her story because it's going to be super powerful. So now you guys said this is the 4th book, right? So there's lessons in resilience, stories of confidence, lessons in leadership, and now lessons in letting go. I would love to hear, Jen, from you first. How did the topic of lessons in letting go come to life?
So we are very community oriented. So Hope, this is how I remember it. So like you can have my back on this or be like, Jen, you got this wrong. Okay. So we were at a retreat. So we were at Hope's house and we had our group of ladies there who are all beautiful, powerful, strong women. And we just asked them, we said, we unveiled, I think it was Lessons in Confidence at that time. Mm-hmm. And we said, okay, we want to build a list of topics that we think that we should continue on with the anthology series. And this was among the list of feedback that we got from the retreat. So we can't take credit for, coming up with this topic. Our community came up with this topic within the retreat setting.
That's exactly how it unfolded. And even at least letting go was a little more organic than asking for the list because I remember where we're sitting, I can tell you where you were sitting on the couch, where they were sitting on the couch, and this concept of having to let go of, either expectations or other challenges that, our community was facing. And they said, oh, well, we have to learn how to let go. And it sort of had this own conversation for a minute. And then someone said, oh, that should be the next book. And then, we were like, oh, yes, that should be the next book. Somebody wrote it down. And then Jen was like, hey, what other one? What other one?
Great opportunity.
A whole list. So letting go was, sort of organically came from a conversation, but then also sparked that next set of, hey, what other topics does this community want to hear about? What other topics does this community want to talk about?
Right. To me, it feels very timeless and also universal. I feel like everyone has a story or something, like you said, Hope, whether it's expectations or identities or this need to control an outcome, like learning to release can be one of the hardest things, but also one of the most freeing things that we do in our careers. So I was super excited to be part of this. I love the topic of lessons in letting go. And what's actually really funny now that I'm saying this past fall, I think probably right around the time, Jen, that you reached out to me, I did a podcast series on letting go, a 3-part series on letting go.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of wild too, actually, to think about. It must have been like in the atmosphere that
divine
time.
Timing.
So yes, divine timing.
Divine timing.
I know both of you have had very unique and profound career and life stories, but I would love if you guys could each share like a snippet of a time that you personally had to let go.
Okay, so an interesting fact is I don't have a chapter in this book, and this is the first out of the series that I don't have a chapter in. And it was a purposeful decision, and Hope, as like the editor and the publisher, said, all right, lady, are you in? What are you doing? Like, are you going to put a chapter in? And I didn't this round. And it's because I'm in the process of letting go right now. And I felt it would be inauthentic for me to contribute. I mean, I was on your podcast, thank you, when we talked about like the loss of my mentor and my boss. That was a big story of letting go. The loss of my father, that was a big story of, letting go. And how do I work with that grief, right? But I am in a season, as Hope knows, that I'm in a very big season of letting go. And it's going to be a protracted season. And Hope has my back for sure throughout this whole process. And I think what I can share today is that after burnout, before burnout Jen, so like before burnout Jen and after burnout Jen is like a whole different person. And so I've had to learn how to let go of who I thought I was gonna be or who I was before that burnout experience. And I will say on the positive side is after the burnout, if there was a positive, is Dr. Elise Cortez, who's our MC for the upcoming Thrive in 25 conference, she gave me this term that has stuck with me to this day. So we were on my podcast and she says, oh, Jen, you've had post-traumatic growth. And I'm like, post-traumatic, what? And so after you have like any type of traumatic event or, on a season of letting go or whatever happens, you have a key inflection point. So a key choice of where you can stay stuck in that situation or that trauma, or you can decide to grow, right? Where that new seed is planted. And so I think that all of this work is just that. It's like I decided in that moment to plant and to grow something new. So I am in an unfolding right now. I am in a season of letting go post burnout. So that's mine.
Wow. And it's amazing to me to hear how you're choosing to release that, even when it feels uncertain and you're not really sure what's next, but you're choosing to do that. You're noticing that you're doing it. You have the support team around you to be able to do that and then to grow from it. So I can't wait to see what comes from it. We'll have to do a part 2.
Yes, we absolutely will have to do a part 2 later.
Good for you. Good for you. Thanks so much for sharing that, Jen. Hope, did anything come to mind for you?
Yes. Well, there was so many that came to mind, and I was trying to select, do I pick something super personal? Do I, pick a small event? And so I picked something sort of in the middle. I have a big career. I've gotten, I've done pretty well for myself. And one of the things that I have really had to work hard on in the last 2 years, and I have to admit, it was our first retreat was so transformative for all of our guests, but for even for me personally, even though I was running ops, this concept of what got me there won't get you there. And I am a service oriented person. If no one will, schedule the meeting, I'll do it. If no one will take the meeting notes, I'll do that. I'm operationally, designed, and those elements, as a senior vice president, those don't serve me anymore. And I have to really, really practice letting go of those behaviors and those, sort of natural tendencies for me to put myself in a service role, because it works against me. And there's a certain point in your career where it works against you, right? I shouldn't be offering to take the meeting notes. I shouldn't be offering to do all of the follow-up action items. And that is a process of letting go. And it's very conscious for me. I'm having to do it all the time. And I'll even find myself writing an email or starting, and I'm like, oh, I can't write this, right? And one of the biggest things that I probably had to do, I got pretty decent at it last year, was I would end phone calls with, what do you need from me? How can I help you? And so now when I'm doing that with my colleagues, I'm like, bye. So that it's so right there on the tip of my tongue to just offer myself out there.
Yeah.
And I have to let that go to both for my own well-being and for my position, and to gain the respect and partnership of my colleagues in a different way.
Yeah. So it made me think about time and just how valuable time is. And if you're spending all your time and energy on those things, you don't have the space for the bigger and better things. And obviously time is our most valuable resource. We spend a minute, we can never get it back. And so when you're spending your minutes doing those things, even though it's out of genuine generosity because it's who you are as a human, it does suck all your time. And it's like, and just to be able to recognize that and let it go is a pretty big deal, especially when it is so core to who you are. And I actually noticed that in this process, you're always so willing. Hey guys, we can hop on a call. Here's your edits. Like, we can hop on a call to discuss them if you want. I'm like, oh, I don't want to take any of Hope's time. Like, it's fine. I can manage these, but it's just core to who you are. So it's got to be hard.
It is.
Yeah.
And I do practice it, and I've gotten better at it, and particularly in my day job, I've gotten better at it, but it's still something I have to work really hard at.
Yeah, for sure. So, Hope, this one's for you specifically, since you're the editor in this process. For those who haven't bought or read the book yet, can you share a sneak peek of the stories that folks will hear or learn about in Lessons in Letting Go?
Yeah. So, our readers are gonna love this work. If you haven't read it, there's so much to take away. So you will read very personal stories, and then some just straight professional stories. And then there's a whole series of them that are mixed, right? It's a little bit of personal and a little professional, because really we all live in that space, right? Where you're having to, combine those two realities. There are a few themes that jump out at you when you're reading the entire manuscript. One of them is you have to let go to let in. You have to let go of what, the expectation or some other piece, to let in some of the goodness. So that comes through a lot. A lot of times, many of the authors also wrote a moment where they said it out loud or said their reality out loud. And that was like a pivoting point for many of our authors. And one of the other elements, almost all of them do, was this moment of reflection. They had to take time to reflect or sort of sit with, the darkness or whatever they're going through, to be able to let go and to make it to the other side. I will tell you, you will laugh. You will cry. It's, there's super funny parts. Some authors write in just a really hilarious way, an entertaining way. You'll probably cry, but you will absolutely learn a lot. And anybody who reads the entire work, you'll take away something from each chapter that is meaningful for you and that you can apply to your own life.
That's what stood out to me when we had our kickoff call originally and everybody kind of went around and shared a little bit. I felt what was so special about this collection is how relatable these moments of letting go are. And we've all had to navigate this at some point in our lives. And I love the idea of letting go to let in, or it's not just about endings, it's about making room for new beginnings. And that's just definitely something that I've been thinking about and playing with, as we've gone through this process. So I think readers will find themselves definitely nodding along, probably feeling understood and hopefully inspired to reflect on their own stories in that way as well. So,
yeah, they definitely will understand that they're not alone.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely inspirational.
So as we wrap up, a question for both of you here. So Jen, we'll start with you on this one. What guidance would you leave our listeners and readers with, especially those that are navigating their own stories of letting go or stepping into bravery?
So this is a great question. And what I would leave them with is that I'm giving them a permission slip. So Hope and I have been following something during the holiday. So we're here to give you a permission slip to surrender. And so many women that in the circles that we're traveling, they were taught to, toughen up and to suck it up and, don't cry, right? Never cry at work, like all the things, right? And some of that's good, valuable advice in your career, in your life. But sometimes it can kind of hurt you because you have the inability to let go or the inability to surrender. And so I have to bring in a book. I heard a speaker on a podcast. She's kind of a famous person, Mel Robbins, and she wrote a book that I want to put out here. It's called The Let Them Theory, and it is all about the idea of I have this thing about control, right? So many of us, it's like I'm in control. I've got to be in control all the time. Well, if you're in a posture of letting go, you can't be in control at the same time. So this book, and what I would tell people is take a look at that book. You can here's the cliff notes, is that just the idea of letting go is just say out loud to yourself, let them do that thing. Let them, I can't control everything. So for me, I'm going to try it out because I think that it'll give me more peace in my life, whether I'm standing at the grocery store and I'm like freaked out because why isn't the line moving faster, to being in meetings where I'm in disagreement with my CEO. I would feel like I couldn't let things go because I wanted to have things my way or a certain way. And so I'm going to use this book and that theory to let them and maintain my peace. But I want to just round it out by giving you a permission slip to let go, because I think that many of us really struggle in this area.
100% agree. We're all like, yes, nodding. Yes. Permission for all to let it go and surrender. Hope, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would love our listeners to, after they give themselves a permission slip, don't go it alone.
Mm.
You have a network, you have people, you have a community that love you. They want to see you do well. They support you. So remember to lean into that and to fight some of our own, a lot of times, mechanisms of just isolating. You're gonna I gotta rough it out alone. I'm not gonna tell anybody I'm doing this.
Mhm.
So there's a whole world of folks out there who want you to be successful, who want to support you through hard times. So after you get the permission slip, give yourself the permission slip, make that phone call, tell somebody else, and know that you aren't alone, and making sure that because that's also a gift you're giving those people in your network. Like, they want to help you, and then you'll feel better too. So, I just remind the listeners, use the people who love you, to lean on when you're in a season of letting go or a really challenging time.
Yeah, it's such a lovely reminder because, I work with a lot of folks that are going through career change, and sometimes they don't want to feel like they're bothering anyone else. So they don't want to ask for help, or they don't want to, intrude on someone else's time or space or whatever it is. But it's true that people genuinely want to help other humans. Like, that's just how we are wired. And so when you are brave enough to ask for the help, I think, that you'll be genuinely surprised when that person comes back to you and they want to help you, just like any of us would help each other, or anyone that reached out to us. Just a 15-minute phone call can make such a difference. So don't go it alone. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And you had mentioned your retreats a couple times. Do you want to put a plug in here for the retreats? Because they sound so lovely. So I would love for listeners, if they're open to the public, to know more about them, if you guys are willing to share.
Yeah. So we, again, and I'll tell you the evolution story. So we are on a call, Jennifer and I are on a call, and she says, it's about one of our books. And she says, "Oh, I want to do a retreat." And I said, "Oh my God, I wrote a business case for a conference organization about 3 years ago. I had it, on my shelf, and I dusted it off. And within a month, we opened registration to the retreat. And we've held two now, and we're moving into, and this is the same thing happened. Jen was like, "Well, we should do a conference." So yeah, now we're doing a conference. So my organization is Climb Conferences, and I host retreats, and I do all of the operational parts of retreats and conferences. And Jen, partners with me on some of those retreats. And I'll tell you, and I'll have Jen fill that in. She also, it is transformative. It's a transformative for all of our attendees. It's our speakers, ourselves, and to really spend time in a community of women who want to see you successful. You automatically have a group of cheerleaders and supporters, and you create these deep connections, and you deliver incredible work, and everyone walks away improved, different, inspired, motivated. And that community we're building, both through the books and the retreats and conferences, is unparalleled. One of your co-authors, Jen, Amy and I were talking about the same thing with the divine timing. She's like, "I was meant to meet Sheila. Sheila was meant to reach out to me to do this book." And, that's true. And she also brought up to me, one of the greatest things about working in this type of community is the people you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
If you're having a hard time, you can say it. You can say it to all 50 or 100 or 200 people, and you can be like, "I am going through it." And everyone gives you the grace, and they're like, "Got it. Love you. How can I help?" And that, you don't get that in the corporate world, right? You just don't have that type of space. So doing this type of work, the community is just 100% supportive. And those retreats really, sort of is a crucible of all of those things. And we create, programming, but there's a ton of also spiritual, physical, other components that people can, reach into. They get massages, they can, get their astrological sign read, they can learn somatic breathing, and that whole person is being looked at and transformed.
Yeah, I can hear it in your voice, Hope. It sounds so incredible. I really appreciate you sharing all of that, and we'll make sure we have a link to a page or something in the notes for folks if they're interested. And one of the things that I wanted to say earlier that I want to say now is that I think makes this so powerful, and you guys together so powerful too, is that the corporate world is tough. And the fact that you guys get it, you've lived it, you get it, you are living it, and you can take that understanding and be able to know what women need and then bring it to them in a completely safe and different environment is just really incredible. So y'all are on to something big.
Well, it's fantastic. It is the greatest work.
It is.
I can tell.
I just want to add one thing that I think we need to say here is we have birthed books in this group. It's kind of crazy magical. We had a woman, I'll just say Cindy Wolfsburg, who came to our last retreat, and she was a little skeptical. Why am I coming in? What am I going to do? She read an excerpt of her book, and now it's out in the world. It's done. And now she's got a website that's launching, and she's got more books that are coming. And, we're birthing businesses, we're birthing books. And really, I think because corporate can, do a number on your confidence, do a number on, just maybe lack of motivation or lack of inspiration. Can I really do this? And so I think our naive joy, what we bring, this zaniness of, well, of course you can. Well, why not? Well, why can't you? Why can't you lift your book? Why can't we just go start your business? What's going on? It's just never a question that when you come into our circle with an idea or a project, we're like, well, of course you are. And then the beautiful thing about it is it actually starts happening. And so that's unlike any retreat or conference I've been to. I don't know about you.
No.
Your other co-author, Jackie Satera, she attended the retreat in Feb. And her chapter is about that transformation and letting go. Wow. And she went and started her own business.
Yeah.
And that literally it's in the Lessons in Letting Go book. And it's, part and parcel to one of the things that fell out of that last retreat. And there's the list is long. I mean, we could literally, Renika, Dominique, there's a whole host of folks who go out and create afterwards, because you do create that space of, you can do it. Yeah, let's make it happen. And how can we help? Yeah.
It's amazing. I speak for all of the authors in the Brave Women at Work community, where I just want to thank you guys for your leadership, throughout this entire process. I'll share personally, writing my chapter was very unexpectedly therapeutic. And I think, Hope, I told you that. And it allowed me to uncover and share a piece of my story that I've never told before. And in that, I felt so much strength in not holding on to this story tighter, but trusting myself enough to let it go and to share it. I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to share it with others in this creative and unique way. So I thank you both for creating this comfortable space to make it all possible.
Of course. And thank you for participating. I love your chapter. It is so fun. And I'm excited for readers to get their hands on it.
Thank you, Hope. And thank you, Jen. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. My hope is that the stories in this series not only resonate, but also remind us that every story, Even the untold ones carry power to inspire and heal and encourage and connect us in ways we probably have never even expected. So stay tuned for next week's episode, where you'll hear from the first author as she shares her inspiring story of courageously letting go. And if you haven't already, make sure to grab a copy of the book, Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Letting Go. You can get it on Amazon. Just buy now button, one click, and it'll be delivered to your home. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you next time.